What's going on, world? We're back at it again. It's the last episode of the new year, 2021. This is what's the word I'm looking for? Bittersweet, I guess. Looking forward to the future. But before we get into that, this is the Young and the Rowdies. I'm Patric Young, closing it off, talking some Gator basketball right before conference play starts. Obviously, this first game got postponed because of COVID protocols. But we're still going to dive into some stuff pertaining to this season. We've already had a few awesome games, Auburn and LSU, if you want to call that a game. Alabama and Tennessee, great matchups there. But I'm excited for this episode because, like I said, it's the end of the year. You guys have done a great job helping me to continue to stay motivated while doing this, and it's just been so much fun. Thank you for liking and sharing this show. But this week, we're going to do a little bit different. I have a buddy of mine that's going to be on the show. We ran into each other. Actually, I think it was, he'll correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was the night where Alabama, was the night where Alabama played, I think, the football soccer game, football game where, Florida State. Oh yeah, that's right. Even better. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me introduce a good friend of mine, Rob Lewis. What's going on, Rob? I see that you're a passenger in the car with the Gator shirt on. Where are you headed right now?
So we're in Central Ohio, Columbus, actually, and we are heading over to south of Pittsburgh to do some tubing.
Oh,
so, we were hoping to find snow up here. The weather's been a little warmer than planned, so we're driving over to Pennsylvania to make it happen.
Tubing. When you said tubing, the first thing that came to my mind was like going down a river, and I'm like, wait, no, he's talking about driving down the snow.
Snow tubing, yeah. Us Floridians, we think that tubing only happens when you're being pulled by a boat or you're on Ginny Springs, kind of lazily with a beverage in hand. But this is, we've got to get a little more bundled up, but it's fun. It's definitely a good way to spend a cold day.
I think I can remember doing the snow tubing as a kid, where we tried to like put a bunch of people on it at once.
Yeah. Yep.
So dangerous.
Oh yeah, you pile on as many people, as many tubes as possible, because the extra weight will speed you up. It's the way to do it.
It's so dangerous. I'm not sure. I guess I'd rather be in the back, because if you're in the front, there's a chance you get run over by everybody.
Oh yeah, you usually do. But you get up, you knock the snow off, and then you get on the conveyor belt and go back up the hill and do it again.
Oh man! So Rob, do a quick little intro. I guess we'll talk about how we met, and this is just talking about the game, Gator basketball a little bit, and your how you became a Gator fan and all that stuff. You can dive into that. Take as much time as you need.
Okay, yeah. So I am a third generation Gator. So my grandfather went to UF actually when it was an all boys school, and this is, I'm going to say, my only ties to Florida State is that his wife went to Florida State when it was an all girls school. So my grandma is a Seminole, not by choice but by rules. And then my grandfather is a Gator, and then my dad got his master's degree from Florida, and that's where I really kind of had my first in-person connection with Florida sports. So when he was getting his master's degree, a certain person was getting started as Florida's football coach. That'd be Steven Spurrier. And so Florida football had a lot of excitement. So I started going to games Spurrier's first season. And then I was going to basketball games too. My dad got season tickets, and we watch Von Kruger's Gators. So it's right after Norm Sloan left, and we kind of gone through a rough patch. And then Von Kruger came in and kind of, he revitalized that program and kind of took it to a next level. First Final Four they ever did was under that. So I moved away before the Final Four, but going that season when I was there and watching Stacy Poole, he was he had a brace on both of his knees because of injuries, so he wasn't quite the player he might have been had he not been hurt a couple times, but he was just a dynamic basketball player. And I remember sitting down low underneath one of the goals and watching him cut through defenses and hit the hoop. And oh man, it was electric, and I was sold. So kept watching them as I moved away. My dad was in the Army, so I moved a lot. So down to from Gainesville, we moved to Georgia, and then from Georgia, Panama. So I'd watch games when I could. Got a chance to watch Andrew Clerk and Dimitri Hill, Dan Cross, all those guys. Such a great team that went to the Final Four.
Yeah,
And then
it's interesting. I remember, Stacy Pools Jr., his son. I played with him.
Yep.
Grew up. We're the same age. Grew up with him. Played with him in high school, all throughout. And I just remember, him over at Florida. I think he got hurt in practice. It was the first time I think he hurt his knee, but it just hurt. Heard he was he under Lon Kruger first for a little bit, and then Billy D?
No, so Stacy Poole Sr., I think he graduated before Billy D got there. So yeah. I want to say he was a junior when I was watching him, so he would have been a senior before, because he was off. He had already graduated when Florida went to the Final Four, so he was already gone before Billy got there. But he was. I mean, look, I watched his son play a little bit when he was at Kentucky, and he was a good basketball player, but he couldn't compete with his dad. His dad was, I mean, he would take over games. It was exciting to watch.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm too young to have gotten a chance to watch Mad Max and Dwayne Shinsis play. Under Sloan, they had great teams in the '80s, but not quite like what Lon Kruger did. And obviously, Billy Donovan came in after that and took it to a very next level, and you were a part of that.
Yeah. So what are some of your, I guess I'll take it back to, we'll throw some football in there. What are some of your memories of when Coach Spurrier was there? Because I'm sure you went to a few games.
Yeah. So my dad had tickets, and I'll tell you the first time that I really, the biggest memory I had in that first year was when Florida beat FSU 14-9, and it was just amazing. So, getting to, I was not at that game, but we drove around campus and watched the campus explode in celebration because, Bobby Bowden already had Florida State in a good place. And, we weren't quite there as a program yet. Obviously, we became that, but at the time, Spurrier was still pretty new with Florida and still trying to get his system, trying to get players to buy in, trying to understand, how he wanted to get where we ended up getting. But it was amazing to watch that team. And it really, I don't know if I'd have watched Florida football in the '80s as much. I would have been as huge a Florida fan, but watching Spurrier's offenses, watching them throw the ball at will against anyone all over the field. I mean, that's what a way to watch football.
Yeah.
It was great.
So different back then because everybody was so much bigger and it was all about running the ball and just, it wasn't about being yeah.
It was defense and it was a line of scrimmage league. And I'll tell you, it's funny to watch now because SEC is a line of scrimmage league again. They pass the ball, even Bama passed the ball amazingly, but it's all about the front five on offense and the front seven on defense. That's where you win football games. And I'll tell you, that's kind of where Florida went awry this year is, the offensive line isn't there.
I wonder how much different this, if, we end up beating Alabama, how close that was. And no one was really worried about the defense of Florida at that point, not yet. And then it's like, oh, we are our offense. And then next week it's everything. Everything's
I wonder too in that scenario, if Florida beats Bama, Emory Jones is kind of hoisted up on everyone's shoulder at that point. He doesn't hear the same criticism he did in the first two games. The first two games, it was all about why is Emory starting and say Anthony Richardson? And it's like, well, he put in his time and he was playing all right. But if we beat Bama, Emory's a hero. And everybody in Gator Nation is loving him. And then maybe you see a different offense. Maybe you see a different Emory Jones. I don't know him personally.
Maybe you still see Dan Mullen.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, I'm really excited for Billy Napier. I think that he's going to change the culture, and I think we needed it. I think that there's a challenge being successful repeatedly in this league without having the right culture and without having just a grinder of recruiting. Because Alabama's doing it, Georgia's doing it, Kentucky's doing it for crying out loud, and Florida wasn't. Dan Mullen recruited okay. I mean, he got some 5 stars, he got a lot of 4 stars, but it wasn't the same thing as what Bama,
I think now
LSU and Georgia.
Yeah, for Coach Napier's obviously coming into a new situation and you're coming late, he's going to really have to dive into the transfer portal and grab some guys, some guys there. Like he's going to have to do to make our team, you know, be better than last year and hopefully have players that are ready now versus, you know, you got freshmen coming in that sometimes need a little time to transition. His best bet will be more than likely going to the transfer portal. What do you think of, you know, now that the way that things have changed regarding the transfer portal for all sports, you know, basketball, football, it doesn't matter. You know, what's your take on the transfer portal now? Because I mean, we look at Florida basketball, and the majority of the guys playing under Coach White are transfers.
Well, I think that my first thought when they first started doing it was, this is going to be a mess. But the bigger thing about it is what's best for the athletes. Because you got a grown man coming in your home, a millionaire at that, coming in your home and selling you something. And I don't know if you've ever had a salesperson come into your door other than the coach, because you've had lots of those, but they're not telling you everything. They're telling you what they want you to hear. So a lot of times you get a guy who, you know, when you're 17, 18 years old, it's hard to make that decision. And a coach tells you, they sell you the world because they want you as part of their roster. But you're not their focal point. Once you agree, they move on to the next.
Right.
So for the student athletes, it's the most important thing that they be able to make decisions repeatedly. You know, your first decision, it's the most important. But if you messed up and maybe the coach told you something that wasn't the truth or didn't come to fruition, not necessarily it's a lie, but maybe, you know, you have a chance to become the number one receiver as a freshman, and then someone comes in and they outplay you. And instead of you becoming the number two receiver, they redshirt you when you don't want to redshirt. Maybe you move on. And in basketball, you know, maybe the system doesn't work for you. A guy that comes in thinking you're going to run a half-court offense, you know, and maybe that's what works for them. And then the coach has to change up systems because some injuries or players change, and all of a sudden you're running an open, you know, motion offense, and it doesn't work for you as a point guard. You got to go somewhere else to showcase what you're capable of, so you can get to the next level.
Because ultimately, like, there's not one. I'm not gonna say not one, but 90+% of college basketball players think they're all gonna make it to the league, and you know, and not that I'm not gonna ever say that they can't, but you know, you depending on your situation and your skill set, nowadays your age, and it's just so crazy to me because I look at someone like JD Davidson, you know, over at Alabama, really solid point guard. I mean, athletic, extremely athletic, but he's projected top 20, and I'm like, this is purely off of potential because he has not been. You know, when I think about Kennedy Chandler over at Tennessee, I'm like, that kid looks good. He looks really good. Jabari Smith, he looks great. JD Davidson, not there yet. He doesn't have a shot. He's extreme. Like he's probably one of the most athletic, if not the most athletic kids in this draft as a guard. But it's just so crazy how it's just all off of potential. Because I see it as an NBA program. You know, saying we can work with this kid to help him get better. But what if it doesn't work out? You know, you just wasted a draft pick on someone that's not.
You only have 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
I think though, in the projecting kind of thing, the right team picks him up, puts him in the G League,
right,
and you know, develops him. It's just college used to be that development. You know, you used to get through that. A guy like that would have to develop a shot before.
Right. But nowadays, it's like, you know, if you're going to be one and done, why even go to college? You know, if you go straight to the G League Ignite thing. It's working out. It worked out for the one kid over at Houston. He's Jalen Green. You know, you get paid. You only have to play a few games. You're getting NBA coaching and training and skill development right then and there, and you're playing in that G League, which is more like the NBA than college basketball. So I mean, it's just so strange because I think the G League Ignite is only gonna grow. I'm not sure how many players are in it right now. But like, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
If I can make money right now, And you can make money in college with NIL as well. So I mean, it's really up to you. It's really, if the end goal for players is to make it to the NBA, that dream, get their name called on draft night, I'm not going to waste time doing anything that's going to slow me down from doing that, from achieving that. That's just my mindset.
I agree with you there. I will say though, it's a tough decision for a 17-year-old to make.
It's tough.
Yeah, and you're throwing a couple $100,000 at 17-year-old saying, "Come over here," and then what are you stepping into? You're stepping into a life of busing from town to town, playing games in front of small crowds, maybe getting developed, maybe not. I think that kind of goes into the mindset of the teenager because they have to go in there and grind. They have to work. If they think it's going to be like a cakewalk walking into this, they're not going to develop, and they're going to end up passing up millions by going that they would have gotten to go to college for a year or two, and then going to the pros because they make a couple $100,000 for the G League, and then they don't pan out, and they never make it to to an NBA arena. When I was at UF, there were a couple of guys. Kwame Brown was one he was committed to UF, but Michael Jordan and the Wizards wanted to draft him #1, so he didn't go to college. And watching him in the NBA, he had a great long career, not a great career, but a long career. Made plenty of money, but his career probably would have been better if he'd have gone and played under Billy Donovan for a year or two and kind of developed and grown.
Yeah, maybe a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I remember Donovan telling me a story about Kwame Brown. I think they had him on campus or before he decided to go pro. And Kwame was just kind of, he asked coach, how long do I need to play this before I can quit, kind of thing. Just like he didn't really love the game, love the process, love the work, love like LeBron's a good example because he's not perfect, but as far as someone that has truly desired that inner drive for greatness, I can't say it seemed like Kwame just he won't make enough so he could relax, and he definitely did that. He achieved that. Yeah. And it's just tough when people on the outside put expectations on somebody like that when their heart's not in. Like if not he's got drafted, but should he have gone #1 if Michael Jordan and everyone else would have really known where his heart was with the game? They would have said, okay, he's really good, but we're probably not going to take him one. We're going to take somebody else that we know is going to at least be committed to the long term. And yeah, you're right. Kwame had a long career. He got made fun of. He got picked on pretty bad this year. I remember who he was getting on, but they pulled the tape out and just saw how he wasn't catching it. Like he had some really bad clips out there in the NBA.
Yeah. Look, he was not. Maybe, like I said, maybe if he'd gone to UF for a year or two, but if his heart wasn't in it, his heart wasn't in it. And, going to college or not, because another kid that I think wanted to go pro right out of high school but couldn't was Donnell Harvey. He went to UF, played for Billy Donovan, and every time I saw him on campus, he did not look comfortable. He was a great basketball player, man. The guy could rebound, but he was undersized for power forward. And, I think he played for the Mavericks a year or two. He didn't have a long career, but he got a couple of years, and hopefully he's got a great happy life. That guy, when I watched him in college, the sky is the limit for him. Because he was a worker. He did the dirty work under the boards.
Yeah, I heard nothing but great things about.
Hey, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Hold on, let me try to switch my Wi-Fi. Hello?
I got you.
Got me? Okay.
Yep.
Well, Rob, let's switch it up a little bit. We like I said, we were bonding over watching over some Florida basketball. What have you seen? What have you seen so far with the Gators this year?
Yeah, it's all defense all the time. The team is built around defense, and I love watching it because you think back to all the Gator teams that have had great seasons. Some of that is just grinding on defense, going after the ball. Like nobody gets uncontested shots. Challenges down low. I mean, these guys, they've got quick hands, quick feet, great anticipation. I don't. This might be the best defense I've seen under a Gator team. It's spectacular. Now, if they could work on that shot, because their offense goes flat and find way to score points. But you look at all those transfers, from Jones to Fleming, McKissick, those guys, they're all defense all the time, and they'll challenge anybody for the ball. It's great.
Yeah, from what I've seen,
when I was talking to you,
go ahead.
Sam, when I was talking to you after the Florida State game, I was just like, the last time I saw a team this committed to defense was the team you played on.
Yeah.
Scotty Wilbekin, you get those guys, Casey, Prather, you guys were dynamite on defense, and that was your calling card. It's the same way this year. And hopefully we get kind of some gel on offense, because they're already gelled on defense. If they can just kind of come together on offense, this team can go far in margin and be playing in April.
Yeah, that's the hope. I think, with this Florida team right now, they have to bring that defensive energy every game. First off, that's got to be their identity, their foundation. If it's not there and they're not making shots, because they're not, offensively, they're not a great scoring team. Kentucky is the highest scoring team in the league, and I've seen, I watched a lot of their games this year. They're scoring, putting up 83 points a night. Yeah. They hit their number 2 nights ago against Missouri the other night as well. Coach White is striving, the beginning of the year, try to get this offense like free flowing with the 5-out, the motion offense. And I think he's striving to adjust for the team to focus on sometimes a little bit more set calling sometimes, slow it down, get the ball into Colin, because Colin is just so efficient. He doesn't turn the ball over much. He gets good shots. Even if he misses, he's getting up a good shot. His shots are high percentage. He gets the ball out. I think sometimes the Gators' decision making on some shot selection hasn't been the best. They're not a consistently bad shot taking team, but it's just sometimes they take up quick ones after, the IQ and awareness has to be there of like, okay, we've missed our last 3, 4, or they're on a run. We got to get a good one. We got to make them play a little bit of defense before taking up this next shot, unless it's, wide open. But I've been really impressed with the maturity of, Anthony DeRuggi coming into this last year.
His growth has been big.
Yeah, DeRuggi's been, that game against Ohio State, that alley-oop he caught, man, that was insane. I think we were texting each other. All right, I called you. Yeah. I called. Yeah, I had to.
That game. I mean,
that was the best defense they played all year. And I would say their defense kept them in that game. Maybe you can say Florida State game was the best, but I think the Ohio State game was huge for how they came. Their defense brought them back in the game.
Yeah, and we see what happens when they don't bring. That's the Southern. They came into that game, it looked lifeless, looked like they didn't even care. It showed the final score. Yeah, it did. But you know what? I hope that it's a good reminder for that team every time they go on the court that if they don't show up defensively, they're going to lose every game. Yeah. There's no gimmies in college basketball. Every single team in D1 college basketball can win the game. You might say no, not against like the Dukes and Kentucky's of the world, but I mean, Kentucky loses some silly games every once in a while under Calipari too.
Yeah, they do. I mean, we can't forget too quickly how last season for Kentucky basketball went. 9-6.
Exactly. That was last year, and Calipari's a great recruiter, and obviously he's won a title, so he's a pretty good coach. But any coach can deal with it. I mean,
before we move on, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with Bet Rivers yet, now is the time, because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one play through to turn your bonus into cash money. With their new Rush Pay Instant Approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With basketball season tipping off, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Yeah.
Even Coach K, and he's had some silly losses over the years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
honestly, I think Kentucky's they look a lot better since that loss they had against Notre Dame. And that was unreal how they lost. They got out rebounded. They shot 2 of 19 from 3, turned the ball over so much. Their turnovers leading to easy baskets. And and for us, I mean, like if you can't, because a lot of those things can happen as far as like shooting poorly from the 3, that can happen.
Yep.
Any game.
Happen to anyone.
Hey, take care of the ball. No live ball turnovers are the ones that drive coaches crazy, where they just it turns over to an easy 2 points for the team the opposite way. And rebounding, it's not all just talent there. A lot of that is effort and mindset of like, hey, we're going to go get the ball and being physical. So I think our team, or the team, has a great chance this year. The game against Stony Brook, they looked great. That was probably one of the best games.
Yeah, they look excellent.
But Stony Brook was pretty undersized.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, they had some big men, but they weren't on the level of
right. That one kid Styles had like 14. He was not even like an X factor on the scouting report.
Yeah. He was styling against us for sure. But you know what? I think that if Florida brings the defensive energy, they can compete with anyone. Go up against Kentucky and get them off their shot and start frustrating them early in the game, and get them pressing, and you can beat a Kentucky. You can beat Tennessee. I'm not saying Florida's going to go 18-0 in SEC play, but I think they're gonna make some noise. I think where they picked to finish 7th in the SEC.
They're predicted 7th. Yep.
Yeah, and I think that watching them the first 12 games, I would say that if they keep this up, they're going to finish the top 3 or 4. I think that's an easy goal.
It's a deep league this year. I mean,
it is. I think Alabama, 17 easy will get in.
Alabama hasn't looked, for the tough games, they've shown up pretty well, except for the game against Memphis. That was a must-win game for Memphis when Alabama lost to them. Memphis at home, number 2 recruiting class, lost 4. They had lost 4 straight. They just played. The thing that's hurting for Alabama basketball is their inside presence. And Noah Gurley had a great game for Alabama against Tennessee recently, which was a pretty good sign for them because they have the guard play. I don't think JD Davidson. I think he has not going to say peaked, but he's just shown his weaknesses for. Yeah. And he's like he has to, because he's so fast. He gets out. He dribble hands the ball. Even if you're not getting a basket and you get the ball in your hands, push that thing like you're going to attack the basket every time.
Yep.
Because he I think one game he ended up with like I think it was probably Memphis. I think he ended up with 0, maybe 2 or 3 points and 10 assists. And I'm like, that is because you bring such a threat to the team because they don't want you to dunk. They don't want you to dunk, so you're going to suck the defense in and you're going to be able to pass it out. But Kentucky looks really good. Like the kid Oscar Tshiebwe, he's unbelievable. He's averaged in the last 3 games. He had 20 rebounds last game. He had 28 the game before that, and I think he had like 16 the game before that. So he's been unbelievable. Ty Washington looks really good, starting to get there. Xavier Wheeler. This Kentucky team is they're actually getting really, really good. LSU got exposed. But the reason LSU got exposed, I was saying this last game, Walker Kessler protected the mess out of the rim. He had 11 blocks. Early on in the game, LSU is not like a great 3-point shooting team. They play outside. Defense, their defense turns and it lights up their offense. And they were just taking such bad shots. They were intimidated going to the rim, not making threes, the score was 18-1 at one point. At like 10 minutes into the first half, I was like, "What is going on?" Auburn looks good.
Yeah.
Auburn might be
brings the team, man.
Ooh, they might be my pick, or right, the team that I'm looking at to win the league. I'm looking forward. I think Auburn and Kentucky is coming up soon. Tennessee looks pretty good too.
Yeah,
I just,
Tennessee,
for
Barnes
me,
gets them ready. That's
I just really hope that COVID doesn't really disrupt and there's a lot of what ifs, should haves, could haves. We didn't have our best because Tennessee didn't have Kennedy Chandler or John Fulkerson in that game against Alabama. So
that impacts them. I mean, that's big hits.
Yeah, your starting point guard, and then your fifth year senior. That's a very a contributing player. Not like he's a fifth year guy that just sparingly knows he's a starter. Not being able to be out there, so it's been a heck of a grind this year. I couldn't imagine. For me, I couldn't imagine having Kerry Blackshear on my senior year and not getting a chance to play in the tournament, and for all those athletes that didn't get that opportunity, that was rough. Had to be really rough.
Because I mean, you got to play in the tournament a couple of years, and that had to be amazing. I remember going to games and watching the Gators play in the tournament. I've traveled to Orlando. Obviously it's coming to Jacksonville a couple of times, but I mean, postseason basketball is just you can't beat it.
Yeah.
College football is never able to recreate what college basketball can. They never will be. So they're always going to be second place to March Madness.
Yeah, it's awesome. I can remember just how much class we missed, and we missed so much class because of the tournament. But it was such an awesome blessing, man. Just we fell short three years in a row at the Elite Eight, but still, we won. I think we had won 3 games to get there. Each year. How much we got to travel. We got such great, awesome opportunities. I wouldn't trade that for the world. And I just, there's been so many guys that have never gotten the opportunity, that have had good careers and never even had the opportunity to make it to the tournament. So I'm super grateful for it. I'm really can't put it in words. But then, what's your take on, just the state of Florida basketball in general with under Coach White, what you've seen? Obviously, there's been some losses that he's had, sometimes where coaching has been questioned. Especially you look at the Oral Roberts game last year when he slowed the pace down. But overall, what's been your take on Coach White in his 7th year as the head ball coach?
Has it been 7 years? Wow.
7, yeah.
I this is the 3rd Gator coach I've got a chance to watch, and I've been a fan of all 3. Lon Kruger was great. Obviously, we know what Billy did, but Mike White probably has the toughest job because you're following a legend. His name's on the court for crying out loud. You have to walk across that every day. No way you can't be reminded of that. So he's got a tough job just in that. And as Gator fans, we have the most unrealistic expectations. We think we're Duke or Kentucky or Kansas in the basketball world, and we're not. We're a young basketball program we've been doing this for 25 years. It seems like all those years before that were just warm-ups for what we're doing now. And, he does I think he does a great job. It's a different basketball world than when Billy Donovan was there. Billy Donovan's never. I don't think he'll go back. So he's got a tough job, but his recruiting, he's hit some really good recruits and he's missed some, but I think he's got year in and year out. It's important, and it's part of basketball. I know some people might say you gotta just get recruits in, and the great teams don't hit the portal, but they all do now. Kentucky hits the portal too. Everyone does, and use the portal. So it's a part of basketball. He uses it. It's one more thing in your toolkit, if you will. So he does a great job. But I love how he rebuilt his team on the fly and
Yeah.
found guys that he wants a system. He wants.
So Rob, yeah, I mean, this is Coach White's 7th year. I think will be your 3rd coach that you've had under, watching Florida basketball. What is your take on? Obviously, as a Coach Spurrier always would say this: you don't want to be the guy after the guy. So, so what's been your take on how Coach White has been leading our program so far?
Yeah, first off, man, 7 years. That's wild to me. I didn't realize it'd been that long, but I mean, he's got a tough job. As you mentioned, this is the 3rd Gator coach I've watched. I've had the pleasure of watching. Lon Kruger, I loved watching. Billy Donovan, we know what he did. But Mike White's got a tough job trying to follow Billy Donovan. I mean, the names on the court. The man's a legend. 2 national titles. Just took Florida basketball to another stratosphere. But Billy wasn't perfect. I went and watched him coach the Gators in the NIT the year after their 2nd national title. So basketball is basketball, and Florida's not on the level of the Dukes and Kentucky's and Kansases. So our fans, we need to stop being as unrealistic as we are. Mike White's a great coach. He's a great hire. He gets out there. He has done a great job of using recruiting and the transfer portal to kind of build the team how he sees fit. I love what he's done with the portal this year, kind of redefining the team on the fly. The team that was there last year and the team that we have now are so different. And, every year I enjoy watching Florida basketball. I can't say there's been a year of my life that I haven't enjoyed.
Yeah.
This is one of those years where I watch it and say, man, this team has the potential to do something in March and April that we don't do often.
Right.
And I'm enjoying the heck out of it. We're spoiled as Gator fans. How many schools can say they have 2 basketball national titles? Not many. And been to 5 Final Fours. And this is all since 96 or 94. So we're talking, less than 30 years.
Yeah.
The 5 Final Fours. We've been to countless Elite Eights. I mean, that it's a special program. It's not Kentucky. It's not Duke. It's not North Carolina. It's Florida basketball. And Mike White's doing a great job as a shepherd of it. I'd love to see him coach there. I'd love to be talking to you about this in 13 years when we're saying, man, Mike White's been there 20 years.
Yeah.
And watching Billy Donovan. Billy Donovan, you always thought was going to jump to the pros because he's such a gym rat basketball guy, more so than a college guy. The recruiting part he was good at. He was really good at it because he's such a basketball guy. But Mike White, and I don't know him personally, but he seems like he's a college guy. Yeah. I don't see him being as well. Maybe it's the grass is greener over there. Maybe I can go to the NBA and show how good I am. I think he's a guy that he wants to teach kids, young men, to be better basketball players, to be better people. And you can only do that in college sports, So I think he's in a good place, and I hope he feels comfortable in Florida for a very long time.
I hope so. I think he feels pretty comfortable. I think it's just so tough sometimes when you bring in such great assistant coaches that end up getting jobs some other places, and I think every assistant coach more than likely is looking for their shot one day, because it's a lot to go into coaching. It's a lot of due diligence before you get your opportunity. And Coach White started where he had to start to get each job, and I think he started as a GA at Ole Miss, and had to work his way up. And I don't think, to me, he doesn't strike me as a guy that looks like he's going to the NBA or like thinking about going anywhere anytime soon. He's a man that is very great at being present and just focusing on what he can control and being the best at what he can do right now, which is pretty awesome. I think, when the grand scheme of things, we have a very limited amount of control. Anyway, but yeah, Coach White, it's a learning process for, this is the biggest job that he's had as a coach. And, he was extremely grateful for it. He came in the right way with humility. He's doing whatever he can and understanding hey, Billy D is Billy D, and I'm who I am. I'm going to do things my way. I'm going to strive to achieve all those levels. He was, one game away from the Final Four in 2017 against South Carolina team that he was up against. They were up against. They were that close. And I think, when it comes to the talent level of this team, come March, like you said, I think they have a chance to make a really good run. I think this league, SEC, is going to have 6 or 7, probably 7 teams that make the tournament.
I think 7.
This year. I think Mississippi State, they actually look pretty good too. They're not great at closing out games, but they're pretty. Arkansas has been disappointing. Without JD Note, I don't know who they are.
You know what? They can put it together and make a run in SEC play, and then we're talking about them playing in March. That's one of the good things about this league right now. I remember when we were talking about maybe 3 Florida or 3 SEC teams in the tournament, and then all of a sudden they just started from the commissioner's office down. We need to improve our basketball scheduling. We need to improve our basketball coaches to improve our teams. And now, we have one of the, if not the strongest, one of the top 3 conferences in college basketball.
I think top 3 for sure. Top 3. As far as the number of teams that are going to make the tournament this year, definitely in that mix. Have you ever had a chance to interact with Coach Donovan, or have you ever got a chance to meet him yet?
I've met Donovan once, but he was young in his career because I was there in the time his first 5 on 4. So I got a chance to meet him when I was working out of Weimer Hall, and he's a captivating person. I can see why he can go into someone's living room and say, "Come play basketball for me," and you want to, because he knows his stuff. He's so such a kind dude and such a smart guy, and just exudes basketball knowledge. He's so basketball, just all basketball all the time. That guy, it's amazing. But he's the other things that he does, raising money for children's hospitals, and being such a great family man, and being such a great kind of he's always been there for his coaches. All the things about him are great. Florida struck gold with Billy Donovan, and couldn't be happier with what he developed at Florida. And I get it with his concept of what he wanted to do with his career. I understand he wanted to move on to the NBA, and he had a great opportunity at Oklahoma to coach the Thunder. Kind of hoped he would have been able to do a little more with Durant. And
he was right there. They were up 3-1.
They were at the cusp, and
in his first year, they were right there.
Yeah. And it was, but I think that goes kind of to the players more so than the coach, because if you ask me all day, every day, you want Curry or Westbrook, I'm saying Curry. All day, every day.
Westbrook's look at where they are right now in both their careers.
Yeah.
And Westbrook is far more athletic than what Steph Curry.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And honestly, Kevin Durant's an amazing scorer. But I think I would probably 9 times out of 10, I'd probably take Curry over Durant, just because their mindsets. I think that Curry's just more. I use this term a lot, but he's a more dynamic person. He's just I don't think he ever goes on the court and doubts himself. I don't think he ever gets off the court and doubts himself. Whereas I think Kevin Durant worries a lot about what people think about him. Yeah. And right or wrong, I don't think Jordan ever spent a moment worried about what anyone thought about him. I think he worried about what he thought about himself, and I think he worried about maybe to a point what his dad thought about him. But otherwise, fans, coaches, other players, he didn't care. And I think Seth Curry kind of lives that life. I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about me. And it shows on the court.
Yeah.
And that's why he's hit more 3-pointers than anyone in the world.
Than anybody in the world. Crazy.
That's something you can hang your hat on right there.
I think so. I agree. Yeah, for sure. I can't remember who I was speaking to the other day, but they were under the mindset of thinking that Coach Donovan might come back to college someday.
Yeah.
Not
I don't
necessarily
see
sport
it.
of basketball, but that he is a potential chance that I mean, Coach Donovan, another guy that is in the moment present, not thinking about the future, thinking about where I am right now. Yeah, I can't see him wanting to come back and doing all the recruiting. I mean, he can hire some guys, obviously a good staff to do that with him. But yeah, I can't see it
College,
right now.
college is not the same as it was when he was here 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And again, he wants to coach basketball, and that's it. And it works. He's got a large family. He's got though that's his focus. And his kids are now getting older. So
Yeah.
I don't know if he has grandkids yet, but I'd imagine if he doesn't, that's not far off. And I can see Billy stepping away from basketball for grandkids more than I can see him coming back.
Yeah. I honestly thought he was going to retire after OKC and just say, I just want to focus on family and, relaxing and stuff. But he loves it too much. It's not a job to Coach Donovan. This is his lifestyle.
Yep.
But I wanted to shift, man. I wanted to take a moment to, talk about some other things that you're doing, because I think it's really important for basketball and sports are great, but there's plenty of other greater causes and things in this world that need to be highlighted, and yours specifically. You're working for the Wounded Warrior Project, and would love to hear all about it.
Yeah, so I've been with Wounded Warrior Project now about 6.5 years. So I came here after a 15-year career in broadcast journalism. So I was behind the scenes producing and then managing in television news, and did a story with Wounded Warrior Project, and just kind of walked away from that story saying that's a place I can be. And so I made the jump, and now I work in public relations. So I'm a senior public relations specialist, helping kind of spread the word about Wounded Warrior Project and tell people about the programs and services we provide to wounded veterans free of charge. So we help veterans with mental and brain health. We help them with physical health and wellness, career counseling, long-term rehabilitative care. We do a lot of things to try and make sure that men and women who served their nation and got hurt, we try to make sure their transition back to civilian life as easy as possible.
Yeah.
I grew up in a military family, so this was something that hit very close to home for me. I know what it's like to see the toll that just being in the military takes on a family, much less having to deal with a wound or an illness from your service. So it was a no-brainer to go work for them. And then when I got there and realized I knew what the Warrior Project did, but when I got there and realized it was so much more than what I knew. In 2016, we launched what we call Warrior Care Network, which is it's 4 PTSD treatment centers at 4 medical centers around the country. One's at home base up in Boston. They're tied to Massachusetts General Hospital. One's at Emory. It's the veterans program there. We have ODome at Rush University Medical Center in Chicago, and then we have Operation Mend at University of California, Los Angeles. So, great facilities, but we started work in 2016 to improve access to kind of treatment for PTSD. PTSD is a big challenge for veterans. It's been a challenge for service members for generations, but we didn't know what it was. In World War II and Vietnam era, we called it shell shock. People would come back from war and they wouldn't be the same as when they left. Say, well, yeah, they saw a lot of stuff, they experienced a lot of stuff, but it's that trauma and how our body responds to it. It's post-traumatic stress, and it's a natural response. Everyone that's ever been through a traumatic experience in their life, whether they served or didn't, has experienced PTSD in one shape or form. But the post 9/11 group, there's more than 600,000 of them that we think are living with the symptoms of PTSD.
Wow.
And not everyone realizes it, because one of the things about PTSD is it's not fully understood, and it's an ailment of isolation. So a lot of times when somebody's dealing with PTSD, their first thing is they don't want to be around other people.
Right.
So they may become a shut-in. They may stay in their home, or rarely leave their home. I've talked to veterans who didn't even feel comfortable going to the grocery store.
Wow.
You think about those things that we take for granted.
Yeah.
I go to the grocery store all the time. I just walk through, wave at people, say hi to strangers, grab my groceries, and then go home and make food. But these men and women, some of them aren't comfortable in that scenario because they've been trained and taught to, that things around them can hurt them. When you're in a war zone, you have to kind of stay vigilant. What's over there? Who's that person coming towards me? Those things it's ingrained in you when you're in the military and when you're deployed and you're in a war zone. So when you come back to civilian life, it's hard to kind of put that behind you. And that's where, we come in and we can help. And these clinics will bring someone in for 2 to 3 weeks. They go through a year's worth of clinical mental health treatment in the span of 2 to 3 weeks. And it's different kinds of treatments to make sure we find what works for them. It's group therapy, it's one-on-one sessions with the clinician. We couple that with mindfulness like yoga and Tai Chi to kind of help you.
That's awesome.
Because it's a challenge. But the idea there is you're going through this treatment with other veterans. You've got a support structure. And when you're done with it, you still get follow-up care to make sure that you're still using what you learned. And that one's been really special to me. But, we have a number of programs that work to help PTSD. So just really, really special organization that I'm proud to be a part of. And what's really great too is we don't take any government funding. Everything that we do is provided by the generosity of the American public. So
that's
donors fund our programs that serve men and women who serve our nation. It's a great way to give back. And it's just a really special place.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I know there's the building that's here. There's a building here in Jacksonville.
Our headquarters here in Jacksonville. So they started in Virginia in 2003, and then in 2005 moved headquarters to Jacksonville.
Okay.
And have grown. Now we have teammates in 25 cities around the country. We have more than 15 offices. We have a setup in Landstuhl Medical Center in Germany, so that when anyone's hurt while deployed overseas, Landstuhl is kind of a stopping ground to kind of treat them and stabilize them before you bring them back to the States. So almost anyone that gets wounded overseas, it's still happening. Even though we're not in wars in Afghanistan, Iraq anymore, people that serve in the military get hurt on a regular basis. And so that hospital is very busy, and we have teammates there that greet these men and women while they're in that hospital. They give them comfort items. We're still giving the backpacks we started out with in 2003. We started out giving backpacks to wounded veterans at hospitals in the U.S. when they come back from wherever they were. And then as we've grown, we've added all these life-saving programs, but we still do the backpacks. So if somebody's wounded and goes through the hospital, there's still the scenario where they're stuck in a hospital bed with one of those backless gowns and nothing of their belongings. So we bring them clothing, we bring them comfort items, and we bring them support.
That's awesome. I love that you're a part, and that there's such a, I'm sure how much longer do you want to continue to work? I mean, I can see the passion, and it's like, you probably don't even see it as work. It's just like, service to the greater good, and something you probably feel like a duty, I would say, in a sense. So go ahead.
It's definitely rewarding.
Yeah.
One of the things too is there's a lot of thought out there that the wars are over, so we're all right. I'm like, no, there's still hundreds of thousands of veterans that are coming back and living with the wounds from those wars. Those don't go away. So what we'll do over the next generation is we will evolve to meet the needs of these men and women. As they age, what they need will change. So we'll have to evolve over the next few decades to make sure that we adjust our programs to where they're at.
There's another organization here that works with veterans. I can't tell you the exact name right now, but I had a really good conversation with them, because I think athletes, obviously not to the level of our veterans, there's some type of a small similarity of when an athlete finishes, when their career is done, when they've been for me, for other guys that you've grown up, you've trained and lived this certain lifestyle of being an athlete from early years till teenage to profession to college and professional, and say you play until you're 35, and then all of a sudden that's done. What's next? Who am I? And for obviously it's wait for our veterans, for the people that are Army, military, Navy, that have gone out and have been told and followed this routine for a long time, coming back to normalcy and they're finding that identity is for them, it's a lot more because they've gone through a lot more actual traumatic and things that are a lot more meaningful versus, just putting the ball in the hoop. And you think about the grand scheme of things, obviously our veterans are fighting, continue to help maintain our freedom. So, everyone else can do these normal mundane things. But like for the parallels are like how for both of them, finding your identity and community and people that you can trust and build a new life and understanding like, hey, you can still relate, but life is now and life goes forward. It's different. But, the biggest part of it all for both sides is having that community, having people that you can trust around you that can help, because I think in isolation is the devil's playground. He wants to keep you alone in your thoughts, thinking that you can't trust anybody, you can't talk to anybody, that you got to continue to live in the past, to live in fear, to think that you can't create a new life, create a new or whatever. And that can be so dangerous. So it's really awesome that, if there's anything I can do to help support, I don't know, whatever, as far as like,
we'll have to get you in for a tour.
Yeah, I would love that.
For a tour sometime in January. The parallels for veterans and athletes are
crazy,
very striking. You think about it, 1% of the nation steps forward to volunteer to join the military to serve our nation. Less than 1% are capable of becoming, playing sports beyond high school and college. And then you look at how many people would sign up for a job that's going to break your body down. And when you're done with that career,
in your mind.
Yep. And the military and sports are it, where people volunteer to break their mind and body down. And then when they're done, what you work so hard for, your purpose, just evaporates.
Yeah.
It doesn't, I'm telling people about my organization. I can do that for 20 years easy. And it's never I'm not gonna end up with a bad back or rough knees. I'm not gonna have that problem. But like my dad served in the Army for 30 years. He is about 4 inches shorter than when he joined the Army from jumping out of planes with rucksacks on. And he has back problems, he has knee problems. He'll never talk about it. He'll never complain about it. But that all comes from serving our nation. I'm sure at a certain point, with all that time you spent running up and down that hardwood floor, your knees are a bigger issue than I'm ever going to have to deal with. So those things are, very, very strikingly similar. And those are the only two fields I can think of where, except maybe mining or construction, those are the only two other jobs where you sign up to basically break your body down. So that transition out of that career, whether it's military or athlete, back into the civilian world where you've gone through things that other people don't understand, that's a big challenge that athletes and veterans face. And so making sure that you're connecting with other people, whether it's other athletes or just anyone that kind of shares those understandings, is important, and it helps make that transition a little less daunting.
You're absolutely right. Well, Rob, I want to thank you so much for your time as we're wrapping up here.
Definitely.
It was a pleasure as we're closing up the new year. Happy New Year's Eve.
Happy New Year.
Closing off 2021, going to 2022. Hopefully, the Gators and college and sports, with this Omicron variant and things going crazy, hopefully games aren't getting canceled left and right. We will be able to enjoy this season. But yeah, man, is there anything else you want to leave with the people with before I let you go?
I just want, if anyone has any questions about Wounded Warrior Project, visit woundedwarriorproject.org. You can read about it. You can, see how we help veterans around the country. And if you want to support, there's a donate button there. It's tax deductible. So if you feel the need, please give.
Yeah, Absolutely, yeah, Robin. I can't wait. I live here near IKEA, so
Yep.
I'm right around the corner from the Wounded Warrior headquarters building. So I would love it, yeah, whenever you have time to give me the opportunity. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. This was the last episode of 2021. Insane that the year is already going. I'm praying for a happy New Year to everyone, for safety, for travel wherever you are. Please wear your mask. Don't get the virus. Do whatever you got to do to stay healthy and safe right now. But everyone, this is the Young and the Rowdies. Stay tuned for some new content coming up next year. Hopefully the season will continue on, and I will catch you in the new year.